everyone, and welcome to Timeless Health Podcast, where I have a very special guest today, an exciting topic here with Waldo Hecheverria, the owner and founder of The Bond, which is an exercise physiology PT studio for training, a very boutique establishment to help people live well and healthy. Take it away, Waldo.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate this opportunity to be here with you. I respect you highly and work closely with you, so I'm really looking forward to getting this underway and helping the people.
Awesome. Yeah, so I call this external medicine, okay, because we all know that in the medical establishment there's internal medicine or family medicine that take care of individuals, but it's so highly neglected, the importance of body movement and exercise. So today, what are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about movement being medicine, only if you do it right, and really get into some of the physiology behind it, right? Like I'm sure you're going to bring up some good case studies and some instances, things that you see commonly, and I'm going to give you the exercise physiology part of it, and hopefully we can get people to learn something here and take it with them.
This is such an exciting topic for me because when we're combined and on the certain programs that we offer at Timeless Health, when we have the patients doing both, is the most exponentially improved clinical outcomes. But even those who don't have symptoms or problems yet feel incredible, and their bodies change. They look younger. They feel better. I think you wouldn't disagree with that. And I'll tell you from my own personal experience, it's worked tremendously for me. Gaining muscle mass, weight and size, I feel more confident, and certain days when we're doing different exercises, you've even helped me boost testosterone and growth hormone.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing to feel that way. This is first line. This is first line medicine, not medications or drugs or synthetics, but improving the working physiology and maximizing it. And as a functional medicine practitioner, it's exactly, what we want in life.
Absolutely. We're laughing earlier in preparation of the podcast, calling it the wellness and fitness is like the infantry part of like the medical world, right? Like you got to get into exercising first before anything else, and you have to exhaust those things, those lifestyle habits, exercise, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress management. All these things need to be exhausted before you get into medical prescription, for things that may not require it.
That's mandatory. Yeah.
And it really, once you start tackling movement, and movement, when I said prescription, that also goes into play, right? Like as exercise physiologists, physical therapists, the movements that we have our patients and clients do, they're prescriptions. And they also require doses. When we think of sets and reps, and we think of exercise selection, it's to the specificity and the individual needs. So that's also something that requires prescription, something that is, if we overdo that prescription, there will be consequences, right?
Let's talk about those consequences.
Sure.
How about as simple as, if you don't get at least 7,000 steps in, you're not getting that 70% benefit in mortality. Like, in other words, we don't want to say this word too often, but you're going to die if a lot sooner, a lot more unexpectedly, and let's face it, we all know someone who has been affected by that.
Yeah.
And that you don't want to be at statistics. You want to also feel good. And it's people talking about, I don't want to live to 150 or whatever they say because I don't want to be decrepit. It's more so about the quality in your years than just your years.
Yeah, I agree. And when we're speaking on walking, this is the lowest hanging fruit. This is the one that just like a ripe mango just fell in front of your feet and you grabbed it and it's ready to eat. Because there's no skill involved. There's no mastery there. I mean, we can all walk. We all need to walk, right? And so what are some of the physiological benefits from walking and getting those 7,000 steps, right? And some may have an excuse, I can't get 7,000. Well, get the most that you can, and start somewhere and then try to work your way up. But what are some of the physiological benefits in walking that you can think of to mind,
The most important is circulation, because what is that? It's the increased delivery of oxygen to your tissues, to your brain, right? To challenging your heart to pump. So it's a muscle, right? And that's number one cause of death in the United States, and obviously affecting millions and millions of people, is, cardiovascular health. And getting that blood flow and circulation is going to prevent coagulopathy or blood clotting. It's going to improve respiratory fitness, okay, which is the ability to max out the performance of our tissues. And I have a case example, which you are familiar with someone who can't do exercise. So for the bottom up, okay, obviously it's a performance medicine practice we have, but for people who have late stage disease or they're in their 70s, we see them and they transform massively, but that's their ideal, is they feel incredible when they're walking. They don't have brain fog. Okay, remember, these are well into postmenopausal years. They feel energetic. They don't have that low T or low testosterone symptoms that men and women experience in the afternoons. They sleep better, right? So it offsets cortisol, our stress hormone. And of course, so hormonally incredible, circulatory incredible, and overall disease.
Yeah. I think the key word is that it regulates. In the lowest level, it'll increase your body temperature, right? By improving blood flow, by increasing heart rate. You're getting some regulation that's happening for your body, and you're getting a neurochemical response. This is why walking is also considered something that's great for stress management. You start to have this low level of endorphins, of some dopamine, some nice little levels that get you feeling better. And like if the glass was half empty when you started your walk, it's half full when you're finished. And you'll never go on a nice walk and get back home and say, I should not have done that. I should not have gone on a walk today.
And stepping it up a notch when people go and have a good workout with you guys.
Absolutely.
That are able to, they never say that. On the contrary, I'm addicted. I'm like, can I go back tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's the first thing I think of because I feel better. The blood is flowing. You're more productive. You're better able to manage
100%. And then in doing though, it's like a really good domino rally, because once you start this physical activity and it starts to get your brain into a better space, right? Now it starts to spill over into other areas of your life, right? Like you get back home and you're not grumpy. So you're going to have dinner with your wife. You're in a better headspace. If you walked, after work, before dinner, it gives you that headspace. I love walking in the morning because I feel very creative in the morning. It gets me thinking. It gets my juices going. Like I start to troubleshoot. I'm not one to walk listening to music or anything like that. I just like to look at nature and just get the fresh bit of oxygen and sunlight, which we haven't mentioned yet. Mm-hmm. Right, and it makes me creative. It makes me optimistic, and that's just a neurochemical response. At this point, it's good brain activity that's happening for me.
There's no downside.
There is no downside.
There is absolutely none, but there is a tremendous downside if you don't move. That's why we call it in functional medicine, if you're not moving, you're starting to die or you're dying.
Yeah.
And that's very true. It's just so unacceptable when we look at these older people that are declining, and I see them with canes, which, or wheelchairs. We try to get them out of that. And in fact, we do have stories where we are successful at that, okay, where people are put into these conditions. Oh, poor them, they have knee pain. Well, why is that? In our specialty, right, the microbiome immune connection, we're helping alleviate the pain and inflammation associated with autoimmune conditions like arthritis so that they are no longer debilitated, even off medication. So, utilizing our approach. And we have one woman getting out of a wheelchair. We've had both a patient who was in a walker. Mm-hmm. You want to share that story?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fascinating story. This individual, when we started working with him, we had the first day was an assessment, and he was in excruciating pain, came in with a walker, and we had to help him take his shoes off. We took his socks off. We had to help him go through all these things because the pain was just on another level. And like living with pain, this is a subject for another day, but it'll really start to mess with your head. It'll start to mess with your body too. And in combination, we refer to that as neuroplasticity, right? He had pain for so long that even in movements that were potentially pain-free, he anticipated there will be pain, so he stopped doing it, and then there was more restriction there. So we started with this individual, and it wasn't easy, but he got his way there through your mentorship and your guidance. And so we were working his feet, starting from the ground, his ankles, his toes, anything that was preventing him from walking, we address. And that's usually how we work, right? Just constantly rescreening. And so what keeps you from walking? Why do you have back pain? Let's tackle that. Let's tackle the biomechanics, right? Let's tackle some of the other areas. Usually the back pain is a victim and the culprit is somewhere else.
Interesting.
Either below or above. And so let's look for the guilty people. Let's look for the culprits here. Who are the role players that are not stepping up? And we found a lot looking at the bottom.
And that's the benefit of this. Is not a simple trainer. This is exercise physiology and PT, where they're looking at the root cause the same way we do. And it's not the back oftentimes, but it's an accessory to other
100%.
imbalances. You get into pain, you lose functionality, right?
100%. The back in this case is just, it's the crybaby. And yes, it's now the back, there's an acute issue and there's a symptom there, which needs to be addressed. But it'll resurface again if the culprit has not been taken care of. If the root is not taken care of, it doesn't matter how many times you chop it out from the top, like the root is the problem.
So primary pain can be from back, but in a lot of cases it's not.
Oftentimes it's not. Oftentimes, the issue is stemming from some deficiency, some dysfunction that's happening below that. Lack of strength, asymmetries, lack of good joint integrity, and so that's what we've seen. And this has now been, pretty documented. We were having a conversation before we got on the podcast, but there was a study, and it just, it speaks on how the conditions of the area have been altered and have become poor or worsened way before the pain presents itself, right? Which kind of says a lot. It means that you were not in a good place in the absence of pain. And pain is what made you start to think about it.
So you've seen the degenerative process years before the present.
Exactly. At this point, there's pain, and you're like, well, I need to take care of this pain, and so you immediately go to a surgeon or someone to take care of the pain. Why? Because many times dysfunction doesn't hurt, right? And because you can have things that are off. We've seen this in shoulders. People that have, tendonitis in different areas, rotator cuff tears, and they are seemingly fine until one day it just starts to hurt. But the tear may have been there a long time ago. Labral tears, things like that may have been there a long time ago. And now there's a flare-up because the body, it's like, I think of it as a tree. You keep chopping it, and the chops won't knock it down until one does. And that's usually the way it works. So if you go and you locally address the area that was symptomatic and you say, okay, you know what, the back hurts, let's get in here through some sort of surgical intervention and let's clean up this part of the spine that's putting pressure on a nerve. If you do that without addressing the root cause, it's a matter of time before it happens again. And it'll potentially happen worse because when you go through that procedure, you need to back off for a bit. You're likely going to lose muscle. You're likely going to change in losing muscle, you're going to change some of those mechanics.
Don't forget the side effects from surgery.
And the
sometimes. Unsuccessful, and then permanent damage. This is not something to be ignored. Third leading cause of death is medical error.
That's another consideration, and there's really no guarantee because, they're addressing, again, the symptom, but not necessarily a root cause. And that's why it does take a team when it comes to that, so if you're considering surgery, make sure that you have a good physical therapist, that you have a good physician, and that they're talking to each other.
And that they're working on the surrounding muscles, and I can't stress this enough, the musculoskeletal system, to strengthen the areas around there to see, and perhaps with the physician, hopefully, someone with advanced training like in functional or precision medicine, to get your system working in perfect harmony. Your metabolic health is good, the sugar is low, inflammation is low, and hormone balance all plays in a role. And we've successfully seen that actually culminate into avoiding surgery.
Absolutely. Well, in this one particular individual, in working those areas, we got him stronger, got rid of the walker, went onto a cane, and mechanics changed entirely. He got to the point where he can, stand and actually pick up some weights and increase, his overall strength, because when you're very limited, you don't have the bandwidth to, stand up and now let me do some bicep curls, let me do some rows. He couldn't really stand up. So we had to work with all these modalities. And the more he was able to do and give us, the more he was able to do in turn, right? And so what happens there? Increased testosterone, increased mental health, more confidence all around,
So pushing yourself
pushing yourself more, you feel more encouraged, you feel more optimistic, you feel more inspired. Now that's happening, in this energetic level, but it's happening physiologically. You're talking about better cellular activity. You're talking, just making yourself more youthful. If we're going to look at age and your lifespan as something, well, you're reversing these poor conditions, you're making yourself younger.
And this is a great example
Yeah.
for the audience to see exactly what we're talking about. This isn't some old, impaired individual for those looking. Anyone from 50 to 70 years old, this applies to you. This guy is a CEO of a major corporation who was essentially sedentary. That's all, the only crime he did. No trauma, no pain, nothing.
Yeah.
Sedentary for too long until, like you were saying, the development of disease was happening. The MRIs would have shown this until it's too late. And then you're really working against the clock to get backwards. Why wait?
Yeah.
Assess yourself now so it's easier to get back into optimal shape and avoid that issue.
Yeah, and in many of these cases, what we frequently see is, I have a back pain, but I did the cortisone shot and I took this, and those are just Band-Aids. Band-Aids, but the cut keeps happening and it's just a little deeper every single time.
By the way, more than one cortisol shot, you're actually causing detrimental harm to the joint.
Yeah, it's shown negative effects, especially after more than one.
That's why we only work with peptides at this point through joint injections that I'm doing or muscular injections, that the anti-inflammatory and recovery aspect of getting down inflammation and allowing people, fixing them metabolically as well and getting them to work with you is life-altering. And I think it's the next level up.
Absolutely. That's the way it should be.
That's great.
That's the way it should be.
In your experience, tell us more about how we've, together or in cases that you've seen over the years yourself, since movement is medicine, how have you prevented surgery and fixed people's limps and all these?
I mean, in many instances, I think our current model in our business is just absolutely beautiful because we do blend the physical therapy, the clinical eye with the performance eye and exercise physiology. And you've got, professionals that sit and collaborate and program for you. And so what we're seeing is, in many instances, people that have come to us with like, oh, I had, surgery on this shoulder. It's never been normal. After I did surgery, I did 12 sessions of PT and I felt a little bit better, but now it's, reverted back to this. And in part because there's been a lack of education presented to the individual, to the patient. They didn't really fundamentally understand what they had to do, right? They had this shoulder pain they couldn't get overhead, and they were just thinking shoulder as one broad thing, but they weren't really educated on exactly what was happening with their scapula and how to improve that via just some simple things of this needs to get stronger and this needs to become more mobile, and really get into it. And people deserve that. There is a very low level literacy overall for individuals when it comes to their bodies and their health. When
you're not moving, your lipids go up, you're getting fatty liver disease, all these sugars and cholesterol or lipids are processed there, so they're going to stay floating around. Hey, I have nowhere to go.
Yep.
That's a problem. Your A1C or your blood sugar of over 3 months is not. It helps in so many other ways than just the musculoskeletal system. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we've seen in just getting them stronger and getting there, there's improved blood flow to the area. There's improved mechanics. There's improved joint function. There's improved quality of movement, patterning, right? Oftentimes, injuries and pain, not oftentimes, most of the time, they alter patterning. They make the patterning correct. The body will find the path of least resistance, even if it's incorrect. And in doing that, right, it'll do more damage.
So you're saying these people are essentially compensating for the pain on the left with their right, and now they're compounding issues on the right side.
And the left still hasn't been resolved.
And they think of only the left, meanwhile the right is
going
to become an issue.
Correct. And that's why, and then the right just isn't complaining yet. And going back to the study that I referenced earlier, in this study, what they did, they had patients that had an issue and a symptomatic right shoulder, and they're like, you know what, let's just do an MRI on both shoulders. It turns out, in many instances, the asymptomatic, non-painful shoulder was just as bad, if not worse, as the painful one.
You heard that, everybody? If you get an MRI of your back and you see herniated discs and you're freaking out, but you're not in pain, that can be from other things, that you're young, you have enough muscle, you're not as inflamed. But it's a warning of what will come.
Correct. Absolutely. So we've seen that, and many, many, many times. And we've helped people prevent surgery entirely. Actually, I have so many scenarios where the person is stronger and better than they ever were.
Tell us about it.
Pre-surgery. I can think of an individual who came in, said, "Hey, I need surgery on both shoulders. My doctor told me that I was bone on bone, and I shouldn't do anything overhead. I shouldn't, And we started working with this individual at the lowest entry point. Lowest entry point was, this is painful. Okay, let's work on a scale of 1 to 10 where it's just a level 1 in pain. And let's start building a little bit of resilience and a little bit of function in this area. Over time, as they became more exposed, stronger in those ranges of motion, we started to increase the range of motion. We started to increase the function demand on the joint, and they started to get better and better and better. At the same time, we weren't only looking at the shoulder, right? The shoulder was symptomatic and painful, and had tears, but not only because the shoulder was the issue. He had issues in his spine. He lacked thoracic extension. So
you're assessing for all of
Oh,
this.
for sure. We're constantly assessing and rescreening. We understand that the human body has baselines and benchmarks. And the process of learning how to move and do that, this is also well documented. You're really also changing your brain composition, right? So you're talking Alzheimer's, dementia, how to keep that away.
Neuroplasticity,
right? Stay working with your body, getting it to, be stronger, be more skilled, be more agile, be, all these other things so that as you age, you do so gracefully.
The objective here is to understand the body is an interconnected system that functions as a whole. And the moment you understand that and respect it, give it the respect that it deserves, just by going and doing that. For example, I do preventive and proactive PT because I've done my full body MRI and I saw some disc desiccation in my neck, and I don't want that to be a problem.
Yeah, you're not waiting for the pain to come up.
No, and now I feel great. I feel amazing. And what the physical therapist does is get me in touch with you after, as the exercise physiologist, shows you exactly where I need to train to make sure that I'm well balanced and even keeled, and I can hit my benchmarks, which has been great.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have done incredibly well under that system, as will anybody, because if you are not managing an injury or you're not managing pain, then you're preventing something that you've perhaps identified, or we have assessed you and have said, listen, that looks great, you look strong, but your left foot pronates a lot. It pronates a lot, and although you don't have pain in your knee right now, you're susceptible to it. You're susceptible to it because every time you load that foot that's pronating, it starts to go up the kinetic chain and starts to work its way up towards your knee, up towards your hip, and then that, starts to do something. So in that moment, although there's an absence of pain, we're working on a deficiency that we saw. We're working on a dysfunction that we saw. So let's go to the other extreme, right? World-class athletes. They get managed by physical therapists and exercise physiologists all the time without pain. In fact, they get managed by the service providers to reach peak performance levels, right? So you don't need to be in pain to see one. You can say, I want to optimize. I want to improve the quality of my movement patterns and the quality of my body so that I can perform better, so that I can be more resilient, so that I can be less prone to injury. Right, the worst thing that can happen really is getting hurt, because then there's no availability there for you to even go into the gym, to even work out and move, right? So addressing by optimizing in the absence of pain is one of the best things that you can do. And that's really our model and yours too. Let's look for what are, the root causes here. What could potentially be an issue if I test your genetics, or what are you susceptible to?
It's a lot smarter.
Right, it's a lot smarter. It's a lot more precise. And people do this in other areas of their life. It just hasn't dawned on them to do it this way, or perhaps just hasn't been available. But those that invest for retirement are thinking ahead. They're thinking, I'm not going to be able to work forever. My body's not going to have the energy in my 60s as I did when I was in my 30s. I won't, make as much money. So you start to account for that, and you start to move. So you invest here, you invest there. You are making moves. This is investing into your body in the same.
And what gives better return?
Your health.
Nothing more.
Nothing more.
It's a shocker, but a lot of people actually don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we all are thinking about proactive ways to stay ahead in our careers, in our professions.
100%.
And how to read the market if you're in finance.
100%.
Or in medicine, understanding AI the way we do. But are you doing that for yourself?
Yeah.
Because we're here for ourselves, not for our jobs.
People pay a fortune for their insurance policies. And they think I need to pay for this insurance in case like I hurt my knee, but yet they don't do a lot to prevent the susceptibility of having to use that insurance.
Exactly. And if they did, they wouldn't need to use it.
Exactly.
It would be a very fractional, marginal case because doesn't movement fight cancer causes, right?
100%.
Plus, on our elite prevention program, we're screening them for that on the cellular level of any cancers coming annually. And that's why the future is so bright. No cancers, heart disease, dementia, and stroke. And the other major cause of aging and death is sarcopenia, or loss of muscle and mobility. Because you fall and it's all downhill, and you don't get that with you guys. And I'm so proud of my patients. And seeing what they've been able to accomplish. They're my role model.
Yeah. I love that. And we appreciate you caring for them as much as you do to position them there, and how thoughtful you are of seeing them from a medical perspective and helping them with your tools and resources, and at the same time saying, what's going to be really, really, really good for you, going to the bond and getting this, because
that's exactly what we do.
You're going to, if you were going to see results in 1 month, you're going to see it in 2 weeks just by doing this.
It's so interesting, Waldo, because everyone I say that to that takes it seriously gets such amazing results.
I know.
And just like the advice that we give, sometimes it's not taken or they don't go. And it's pretty obvious to see who those are that deteriorate. And that's not what we want to see. So I hope this is a warning out there for you guys. If you know somebody who's struggling, how much a functional medicine consultation and functional training or exercise physiology can do for you is exponential. I mean, the returns on whatever you would invest in your time or your money, it's arbitrary, because you're going to be in such a better position for the years to come.
And the time is always now, right? You have to be proactive. You can't be reactive. And I understand that it's scary to say, let me get a full body MRI. Let me do a cancer screening, test to see if there's anything percolating there. Like, you're like, well, I feel fine. Why search for anything? I may find it, right? But that doesn't alter the truth. It doesn't alter the actual facts. So
you catch it now.
Yeah.
There's a really strong chance that through this kind of approach, it's not a problem tomorrow.
Correct.
As opposed to the other way around, you can't say the same thing. And I think everyone can agree.
Yeah.
So it depends on obviously it's up to the client or the patient, but it's available because of our beliefs in the future of medicine, the way technology is raising. Medicine is becoming so precision and personalized that the outcomes are just really impressing us. We're able to now reverse biological age. So someone who's 70, like a patient we've recently referred who's on vacation up north, is now in her 50s biologically. And showing off her muscles that she never saw.
What a fantastic case on her. Yeah. There was, I guess, some hesitation in getting back into exercising. She used to train. She used to exercise, so the foundation was there. Had a knee replacement. We identified that the circumference of her knee was more than that of her muscle mass on her thigh, which would in turn be a huge burden for that knee replacement. So we're like, we need to put some muscle on these thighs. This is going to increase the lifespan of this knee replacement. And so we started working on this big time. She started feeling great. She started feeling like, wow, like I already feel more energetic. And we moved our way up to the arms, and now it's like an aesthetic thing. She looks amazing. Like she's sending us, pictures with her arms flexed, and like we love her so much.
Her husband also loves her a lot now.
Oh yeah,
a lot more.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
The energy and the vitality and everything that she's gained back. Because remember, it's also increasing your youth hormones.
Yeah.
Doing so, the production of them.
I think something worth mentioning too, since we've been tackling the body and exercise and so forth and using the word physiology, but you manage their blood tests all the time. You're like looking at, what their blood work, how it's changing here and there. And so what have you noticed with people that have been exercising, like when they're comparing their first lab to like, after 2 months of exercise, when you're thinking cholesterol, like their lipid panels, their insulin levels,
So I'll make it simple, right? You've got muscle and fat. And since the fat is the accumulation during the process of being sedentary or not moving, and the muscles are going to grow when you're working out, they're both competing for the same nutrients, right? It's particularly protein that is going to go into muscle versus carb that usually store in the fat as a result of your liver already being filled. So we see liver enzymes go down, fatty liver disease getting better from this. We see insulin levels because of all the sugar that's coming in. It's being burned and utilized during exercise, going down as well. So the A1C comes down. This is without any intervention from me. Okay, blood sugar levels coming down, thyroid conversion actually improving, which is impressive, and I wasn't even expecting to see some of these changes. We also see the lipids, the cholesterol levels. Now that the liver is now cleaning up, that's actually getting better too. So everything is getting imbalanced. We're talking about inflammatory cholesterol, guys. Triglycerides, and low HDL getting higher, which is lifestyle modified. And your overall risk of metabolic syndrome and things that are more than double the risk for heart disease than simply cholesterol alone are all getting better.
Yeah, I mean, those are all things that conventionally people will go to their doctor and say, listen, like you need a statin ASAP. Your cholesterol is high, right? You need blood pressure medication. You need this and that without even having stepped in a gym or gone on a walk or anything like that. So just thinking back of
it's first line, And the cardiologists we work with don't even put people on statins right away anymore. It's simply understood that these are having consequences, far-reaching consequences on the hormonal and brain aspects of the body. Yes, our cardiologists are trained, like myself, in functional and precision medicine, or age management, and these are extremely important things to know, because that's why so many people are on medicines. Waldo, do you know how many people are on medication? Let's just do this. This is a fun game.
Okay.
How many people over 60 are on at least one chronic medication?
I think I read, we haven't spoken about this, but I think I read something along the lines of like 70 to 80%, like something ridiculous, right? Like I think like 4 out of 5 people are on medication. Is it that high?
It's crazier than that.
No.
I mean, as of this year, studies are now showing up to 89% of people are on one. Guess what? Over 50, how many people are on a chronic medication? So that means cholesterol, blood sugar, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, you name it, whatever or obesity, I should say. Which ones, what percentage?
Over 50?
Over 50.
70%.
Good.
Yeah?
75%?
75?
Yep.
Okay, I mean.
How about my age, younger than me, younger than us? What percentage are on
24, 25.
So we're talking 40, yeah, right. I look at it. Yeah, over 40, how many people are on at least one chronic medication?
40%. Higher? 50%.
It's over 50%.
Wow.
That's an insult to me and my generation.
Yeah, it's sad, actually.
And how many people are on 2 medications over 50? I mean, the percentages are still so strikingly high that we know we're in a corporatized medical environment that's really for profit, keeping people ill and not going back to the first line.
Yeah.
And if you do the first line right, I mean, we've had so many generations of different exercises that have proven to be healthy and for some people and others not. But with all the cumulative evidence, the latest science is really backing functional training.
Yeah.
It's really been popular the past several years and showing the importance of muscle building.
Yeah.
To reduce fat and improve metabolic health.
Well, I think another, part to that, those, first of all, those numbers are alarming and they're sad. And I think, it also begs to talk about the fact that when you work with a coach and you work with someone like us, we're not only there to get you moving and exercising, but we're there to educate you as well. And a big part of those alarming statistics are just a lack of education, a lack of understanding of how the body works, a lack of someone there holding them accountable. When you're working with us, we are tackling multiple things. We go into your sleep hygiene, your nutrition, your lifestyle management, your motivators, what is getting you, out of bed and into exercising. Like, we're constantly assessing the person's mindset, right? So there's big value in these conversations that are overlooked and much more impactful than just exercising in and of itself, because we're teaching you and we're working on what you should be doing when you're not exercising, what those 23 hours look like. And that's really those decisions, your day-to-day, your perspective on life, your education is really what's going to allow you to make these habits a lifestyle.
And this is what we call a holistic or comprehensive approach.
Comprehensive approach, yeah.
And what would you say the ideal number of hours per week would be for just, let's say, resistance training?
We think optimal, and like something that we talk about is we think optimal is weight train 3 days, and this is kind of like our formula at the Bond, is weight train 3 days a week, physical therapy 1 day a week, whether or not you're managing pain. If you're managing pain or an injury, then definitely maybe 1 or 2 times. If you're not and you're just there to optimize, then we're looking to increase your performance, get you stronger, get you better as you get older, and then we're recommending you do physical therapy anyway once a week.
If you're in a car accident after that, you fall during this, you are going to do better.
Exactly.
We both have trained in the same jiu-jitsu studio as well. And one thing that I really appreciated from these guys in understanding traditional jiu-jitsu is the importance in aging how to fall. So, like,
durability, it's body armor. That's really what muscle is.
Exactly, and understanding the positioning there, but also, if you have atrophied muscles in your rotator cuff that keep your shoulder in its place, and they're shrinking and disheveled and not really working well, you outstretch your arm and fall improperly, they're just going to be like tight little thin ropes that are going to snap. Mm-hmm. Whereas they're getting better and stronger with what you guys are doing
100%,
and they're not going to have those injuries.
100%.
How much is that worth?
Oh my God. So yeah, if you're listening, you're thinking about a formula. We're thinking, 3 days of training, weight training, 1 day of physical therapy, 2 days of cardio. I'd say 1 day certainly zone 1, that walking for an extended period of time, and another day of zone 2, and maybe sneak in something that's high intensity in zone 3. Just so that you get all those cardiovascular benefits in those different zones.
Yeah, and Peter Attia talks about, for example, getting up to zone 5 and zone 4 and his own formulation.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong. Everything is tailored to the individual. Mm-hmm. I will say that.
And their capacity.
And I think that's where you get them, because you want to push people, I believe, into at least some sort of movement every day if you can, but not crazy. It doesn't have to be an hour sustained at a high, performance level.
Yeah.
That's like a misnomer.
Some people overdo it because they feel very motivated and there's no plan. It's like, oh my God, like I got all this energy, and I want to get fit so fast, I'm going to do all of it.
You hear that, cyclists and runners?
Exactly.
And tell them about too much exercise.
That's also bad. Exercise is still, however you see it, it's still a stressor to your body, right? So if you walk in and something that we're constantly assessing at the Bond is their state of readiness. Like, we never will start a session together without me asking you, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Right? What is your energy level like today? What is your motivation like? Do you feel like really going after these weights, or are you feeling tired? That tells me how to navigate the prescription for the day.
Everyone's used to saying to you, yeah, I feel fine, I feel good.
Yeah.
What's funny is with me, you've caught me on days, and I've told my family this, where I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And the way I'm moving isn't in accordance with the physiology you would expect.
Sure.
And you stop me from going heavy.
Sure, 100%. Because your ability to self-assess is also a skill. You can't assess precisely if you don't know what you're measuring up against, right? If you're not someone that's constantly testing yourself by working out and challenging the body, then you're always going to feel pretty good. But if you now understand the demands that are placed on the body and how that may feel, then you have some sort of reference point. And you say, you know what, if I'm going to lift that heavy thing, I remember last time I said I was fine, but I was actually pretty stiff, and then I got hurt. Or I was supposed to lift 100 pounds and I couldn't even lift 80. And so the performance may drop off. So we're assessing your state of readiness. Your state of readiness, because stress overall does make the engine run a little high, right? Your RPMs when you're a little stressed are high, even if you're not moving. What does that do? It sort of pre-fatigues the body. You're speaking on a general fatigue on the central nervous system, right? So simple questions for us, just as like, are you motivated to be here today? Like, do you feel like lifting weights? Sometimes it's, yes, I'm feeling great. We know that if we get three green lights in those areas of saying, yeah, I feel good, slept well, I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood, you know, and I'm ready to go.
Because you're not distracted.
You're not distracted. You're probably not stressed out. You're not.
Form is critical.
All those things, then that allows us to work through that.
I remember I've been working out since I was 16, 17 with a friend of mine. And I thought I knew what I was doing when I came first to see you. Yeah. And there were so many areas that I was not doing right. And I'm like, oh my God, I could have hurt my wrist. I was probably contributing to slow going arthritis.
Yeah.
And we corrected all of that. And I feel I won't, you know, functional training is because just like functional medicine, we're looking at the root cause, and it's for purposes of being functional as you get older, right? And all the movements and exercises are purposeful, and how to lift things so you don't herniate a disc, to how to carry something and how to put something and reach for something. This is not just important in the elderly. It's a habit that you start now, and you're like, I got this.
Yeah. You know the difference between exercise and training?
What is it?
Specificity, right? That one is objective based, it's goal based, short term and long term, and that's training, right? And a lot of people just exercise. They say, well, I need to exercise, and yes, theoretically, by exercising and moving, that's exercise. But when you're training for something, and there is specificity that's prominent in that training program, you know, with the selection of exercises, the intensities, right? You know, the reps and sets, the volume, all those things are considerations when it comes to training.
So to get you to the goals of more muscle, let's say in your lower back where it was weak and not supportive, and perhaps contributing to your other extremity pain.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Correct. That's specificity, and that's training. So just going to the gym and exercising and hitting the machines, you're doing better than the average person, but you're also not doing enough.
And I've also read that the excessive exercise is when you're doing more than, you know, sustained high endurance, for example, the cycling or the running or high endurance swimming, more than 4 times per week for over an hour.
Yeah.
That's where the J-shaped curve comes in, where, you're going to have a decreased chance of death, right? But then it comes back up because it's oxidative stress, too much of a sympathetic state.
Correct.
And that's going to lead to inflammation.
Correct. And so this is a really good topic too, that there's a little back and forth in right now in the industry, because it's like, well, is that person overdoing, or are they just under recovering, right? Is that just too much of a demand, or are they just under recovering? Or are they just also, on top of the fact that they're doing those 4 days a week, are they also not sleeping well, hydrating well, managing their stress well, you know? And like, are those factors that are making for a lesser return on their work?
Excellent question, and I can add to that's why we do certain genetic testing in my practice, certain lifestyle genomics, we call it, and we can see what their genes are for recovery, what their genes are for type of exercise for that body type.
I love that.
And how much would be, you know, essentially
ideal.
A problem. I had a case that's an interesting one where a 30-year-old, I couldn't find anything wrong with him. He chose to do our elite prevention program because he is so dedicated to longevity. He works out 5 days a week, back-to-back days. So keep in mind what we just said.
Yeah.
And his blood work was perfect. There was nothing wrong, except the last thing that came in was his biological age. And you know what it was?
Older than he really was.
Yeah, it was 70. He's laughing. Your test is wrong. Repeat.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not kidding. Repeat that.
Yeah. Too much oxidative stress.
He got 71, so it was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Second time. We're talking now a couple months in, and I said, there's something going on we need to revisit. We sat down finally. His nutrition was fine. He wasn't overeating or eating the same foods even to increase, that diet diversity would have been an issue. It wasn't. We went back to the exercise, and I said, you haven't given yourself a day off despite tearing muscle. And he's narrow, like thin like me, but really well built.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to give yourself a little more break. He's like, I've been doing this forever. My dad has been doing this forever, and we're fine.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I can't speak for your father, but it's not always that you get the same genetic lottery as he did.
Yeah.
There are recessive traits that come from your mom's side, et cetera. Let's take a look at this. And sure enough, I backed him off to 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and he was hesitant. He didn't want to do it.
Of course.
And now, a month later, he's praising everything we've done to the random audiences that he gets about how much stronger he feels, alert, because he never knew what that felt like. and he's more well rested, and he feels stronger than ever, and he's so happy.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good consideration. It speaks to looking at a beautiful car and looking under the hood and seeing that the engine was kind of having some trouble there without even realizing, right? The exterior physique was showing something, and the internal was showing another. When you tested,
just like what we're talking about with the imaging.
Exactly, just like the imaging, exactly. So I think that's a wonderful opportunity for him, at that stage to understand what his body was going through. And it's possible that maybe down the line he could reintegrate those 5 days, and at different intensity, so that he can be a better manager, allow his body to navigate those 5 days of demand a lot better. And there's things, that facilitate recovery, that can improve the body's ability to regenerate and recover. Sauna is the big one right now, infrared. There's all these little things that people can incorporate in their life to sort of, facilitate red light. And again, if you're going to the gym 5 days a week in a row, I particularly don't know how that's even possible unless you're really eating very well, sleeping really well. I mean, this has got to be almost your job.
Perfect lifestyle, according to me. I couldn't find
has to be your
wrong.
job.
But do you see how data can be so valuable that one essential point, your epigenetic biological age marker, can give way to such a world of problems that you couldn't pick up even on more advanced labs? So that's the importance of a comprehensive evaluation, where we're looking at everything, not just what someone wants or someone thinks is right, but what we basically tailored for people based on what we see every single day and encompass everything.
Yeah.
Because you can miss it if you don't do that full thing. And in conjunction with you.
Now, question off the top of your head, right? Let's say he would have not listened to you after you told him to go through those 3 days, right? What are some of the potential consequences to that, right? He looked good, he felt good, and but the epigenetics test didn't come back saying so. So what sort of diseases or things could he have potentially been more vulnerable to?
So that's a great point. In the epigenetic, which we're looking at immunological markers called inflammaging, like inflammation causing aging, right? That's low-grade chronic inflammation. And we saw that it would produce oxidative stress and inflammation that can lead to potential autoimmune diseases, all right, gut breakdown issues as a result, and the silent killer, higher blood pressure eventually leading to heart disease.
Yeah, so although he wasn't showing anything in the blood work on that end, he had exposure of potential disease just because of this oxidative environment in his body.
We can say this is probably 10 to 20 years early. We've stopped that from happening.
I think that also speaks on there. You hear of these instances, they're not as common, they're more rare, but instances of people saying, well, what happened to that person? How did they get cancer? How did they get so sick? Like that they worked out all the time, they were so healthy, they had the perfect diet. Like what happened, and like it's hard to justify based on how healthy they lived, but maybe there was a little bit more to it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
This was an amazing opportunity, I think, to discuss with the owner and founder of such a marvelous boutique studio, The Bond, to help people from an external medicine perspective really fix their health and body. And sometimes that's all people really need. But it's always good to test, not guess. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in, and thank you again, Waldo, for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Anytime, Doc.
Appreciate
Pleasure.
it.